Hi there, it's Diane. Welcome to my basement. Today we're going to be learning about rounding natural numbers, so numbers greater than 1. If you have your workbook, you should be on page 57. Let's begin. So, what's the first question you should ask yourself? What does rounding mean, and why do we round numbers? Well, there are a lot of reasons why we round numbers. I can think of time, like if I want to know how long it's going to take me to do something, I usually round it, so I give myself plenty of time. I also round money. If I want to go to a store and I'm grabbing some things off the shelf, I will round money to make sure that I have enough cash with me. What else do we round? Or why would we round numbers? Do you have any ideas? Great. Okay. So, there are many ideas why we round. Let's look at it this way. Rounding a natural number means replacing it by an approximate value. So, your parents, when they're in their car driving, their car, it'll round how much gas is left or how much electricity is left to make sure they make it to their destination. And sometimes we approximate, we round, it's like guessing how far a distance is going to be. So if you want to travel, you can estimate or round or approximate how long it'll take you to get there. There's many useful reasons that we should learn how to round. So a number can be rounded to the nearest 10, 100, even 1,000, for example. Well, let's learn how to round. Rounding with a number line. Sometimes you get this nice little number line. So our number line starts with 1,000 and it goes to 1,400. So if you're lucky enough to have a number line in front of you, they're very easy to round with. To round with a number line, you need to round a number to the nearest 100 on this number line. For example, replace it by the number that corresponds to the nearest 100. So they give you the number 1070, and they want you to round it to the nearest 100. So they've bolded the two numbers that it falls between. If you're looking at hundreds, it's either 1,000 or 1,100. So we see that 1,070 is closer to 1,100 than it is to 1,000. We know that because 1,050 is in the center and it's closer to the 1,100 on this side. What about the number 1,234? Well, the two hundreds, the hundreds that it's closest to is either 1,200 or 1,300. We see halfway is 1,250, so it's closer to 1,200. A number line is just a visual. You can visually see the closest number. We're not always going to have a number line with us. So let's learn how to round step by step. There is a method for rounding without using a number line. Here's how to round 1,234 to the nearest 100, so they chose the hundreds, using this method. So the first thing, observe the digit place to the right of the hundreds digit. Okay, I'm going to put this little plastic sleeve on there. Alright, move my light source so it doesn't give us a glare. Maybe I won't. Yeah, I will. Okay, so they want us to round to the nearest hundred spot. the nearest hundreds. So you find your hundred spot. They found the hundred spot and they put a circle around it so we know what number we're looking at. Now, you look to the number to the right. If that digit to the right is less than 5, so if it's a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, then you keep the number that's in your hundreds position the same, and you change the other numbers to 0. You replace them with zeros. But what if it's greater than 5? If it's 5 or greater. Well, then you need to round the number up. So, I want to show you. If I have the number 1, 3, 2, 6 versus if I have the number 1, 3, 6, 2. All right, so these are my two numbers. I have 1,326 and I have 1,362. I want to round to the nearest hundreds position. So I'm going to circle my hundreds position. I look at the number to the right. It is a 2. A 2 is less than 5. So my number stays the same, 1,300. And my other two numbers, the 2 and the 6, they become zeros. So 1,326 rounded to the nearest hundreds position is 1,300. But let's look at 1,362. Now I'm going to circle my 3. I'm going to look at the number to my right, and it's a 6. Well, 6 is greater than 5. So I write the 1,000, but the 3 gets rounded up to a 4. And then I put zeros in my other two positions. So 1,362 is closer to 1,400 than it is to 1,300. Does that make sense? What if I have this number? 1,350. That's right in the center of 1,300 and 1,400. So now what do I have to do? Well, you go through the same process. You look at your hundreds position. So we have a 3. You look at the number to the right in our tens position. It's a 5. And what was the rule? If it's 5 or greater, you have to round up. So I have the 1 in the thousands position. The 3, we round up to a 4. And we put zeros in the other positions, the tens and the ones column. So 1,350, it's right in the center of 1,300 and 1,400. We round up. Excellent. I think we're ready to begin practicing. So we have 346, and they've rounded the number to 350. The instructions are: draw an X in the appropriate box to indicate if the number is rounded to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000. So they want to know, was the number 346 rounded to the nearest 10, to the nearest 100, or to the nearest 1,000? How do we know that? How do you know if a number has been rounded to the nearest 10, to the nearest 100, or to the nearest 1,000? Well, the trick is looking at the zeros and to see the change that was made. So 346, it went to 350. So a 0 was put in the units column, and the 4 went up to a 5, so the change happened in the tens column. So I would say that it was rounded to the nearest 10. There you go. Let's look at B. 3,405 was rounded to 3,000. So I have a 0 in my units, in my tens, and my hundreds, and the 3 remained the same. So to me, it looks like 3,405 was rounded down to 3,000. So we were looking in the thousands column. Let's see if that is true. Yes, it was rounded to the 1,000 column. All right, let's look at C. 653 was rounded up to 700. So they put zeros in the units or one column, in the tens column, and the 6 became a 7. So the change happened in the hundreds column. So let's see. Yes, it was rounded to the 100. Do you see how I'm doing this? Let's look at D. 1,450 was rounded up to 1,500. So the units and the tens were changed to zeros, and the 4 was rounded up to a 5 in the hundreds column. So the change from 450 to 500 happened in the hundreds column. So it was rounded in the hundreds column. All right. I want you to try E and F on your own, but let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, round each number to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000. Be sure to always return to the original number. They say or 1,000. I'm pretty sure they mean and 1,000. So we need to take our original number 1,045 and round it to the nearest 10 position. Then we need to take the number 1,045 and round it to the nearest 100 position. Finally, we need to take the number 1,045 and round it to the nearest 1,000 position. So I'm going to take my whiteboard here. Try to get that glare off for you guys. Okay. And then we will take, I think, the color green. So I'm going to write the number 1,045. 1,045. I want to round it to the nearest 10, so I'm going to circle my tens position. I'm going to look to the right. It's a 5. So if I'm going to round it to the nearest 10, the 5 tells me to round it up. So I will write 1, 0. The 4 goes up to a 5. And I fill in my units column with a 0. Let's see if we got that right. Yes, 1,050. Okay, let's round to the nearest hundreds column. I go back to the original number, 1,045. This time I'm going to round it to the nearest hundred. So what I do is I circle the number in my hundreds column and I look to my right. This time I have a 4. Do you see that? So I know that a 4 is less than 5. So I'm going to keep the 0 the same. I don't have to round it up. So I have 1 0, and then I fill in zeros for my other two values, my other two positions. So 1,045 rounded to the nearest hundred is 1,000. You might not get it the first time, and that's okay. It's just practice, right? And we just keep practicing until we get it. Let's try this again. We have 1,045. And I want to round to the nearest 1,000 position. So what I do is I find the number in my 1,000 column. It's a 1. I look to my right. It's a 0. So the 1 stays the same. It does not have to get rounded up. And then I fill in the other positions with 0. 1,045 rounded to the nearest 1,000 is 1,000. You got this. Let's try B. Yeah, let's try B. Okay. So what does B tell us? B tells us that we have the number 4,456. Let's round it to the nearest 10. Circle the 5 because it's in my tens position. I look to my right. Ooh, it's a 6. You have to ask yourself, do I round it up? Or do I keep the 5 the same? It's a 6. Well, 6 is greater than 5, so I'm going to round up. 4,460. You got it. Way to go. How about to the nearest 100? Let's take 4,456. Circle our hundreds position. It's a 4. We look to our right. The 5 tells me, you gotta round that 4 up, Diane. So I take my thousands position, and that always stays the same. My 4, I'm gonna round that bad boy up to 5. And the other two positions will maintain a 0. We'll put up a 0 there, right? So our answer is 4,500. How's it going? Is it getting better for you? Maybe a little? Let's try another one. 4,456. Let's round it to the nearest 1,000. So, what do I have to do? Louder! What number am I circling? A 4? This 4? The hundreds or the thousands? The thousands, because I'm rounding to the nearest 1,000. So I circle my 4, I look to my right, it's a 4. I'm not going to have to round up, I got to keep my 4 the same. So I'm going to keep the 4 the same in my thousands position. And my other positions, they become zeros. 4,456 is rounded down to 4,000. How about we try one more? One more, and then we're finished for today. Okay. I'm going to do letter D. Let's see if we can get letter D going on. So we have, for letter D, 100 134. Let's round it to the nearest 10. Find my tens position. Look to my right. The 4 tells me I keep the 3 the same. So 130. 134 rounded to the nearest tens position is 130. There you go. What about 134 to the nearest hundreds position? Nearest hundreds position. Find my hundred spot. It's the 1. Look to my right. It's a 3. 3 says keep the 1 the same. So I keep the 1 the same, and the other 2 numbers become zeros. 134 rounded to the nearest hundred is 100. And that is rounding. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.